This is the second of a series of 3 video lectures on activities. Um, to start, I'm going to put up a couple of Goon nodes, and we're going to, in this lecture, explore conditional and probabilistic activities. First of all, probabilistic activities. When you have probabilistic activities, you have more than one activity, and only one of the set is taken, and it's taken according to the probabilities that are specified. So for example, if we have, let me put up another Goon node, and this Goon node could represent the end of an inspection process, where this is where things go if the process fails, and the second one is if the inspected item passes. And we want to say something like 15% of the time we'll send entities to failure if they fail the inspection, modeling the failure of inspection process, and 85% they pass and go on to this portion of the process. So to do that, we click on the activity cursor button. Cursor switches to the activity cursor. We're going to put in an activity in between these two items, and in this case we want to put in a condition that reflects the probability of failure. So we look under random functions, I believe, let's see, under global functions, and we want to look for the probability function called PROB, and here it is. So we want to specify that failure is 15%. So 0.15 is the failure probability. We click OK, and that's added to that condition. Since this is probably a decision process after activities have already been completed, or just a logical process, we can make these zero duration activities. So the condition reflects the probability, duration the amount of time. Again, no servers, so leave that blank. We don't need an activity number. We'll click OK. Now we add in the second condition. So we have activity cursor. We click on the start node and the end node. And again, this time the condition is going to be the probability for that activity. So we scroll down to the PROB function, and this specifies the probability that the activity is taken, and in this case it's 85%. Okay, click OK, and OK, and it gets added to the definition. Again, if you want to make that a zero-time activity, you can, or if you just let it default, it defaults to 0. So here we have two activities, only one of which will be taken. Part of that's reflected in this max take parameter, or maximum branches to take is 1. We just want to take 1 out of the 2. And the probabilities, of course, must sum to 1. So we either go with 15% of the time we go to failure, 85% of the time we go to pass. Okay. Now, just to illustrate the use of specifying an end node in an activity, we're going to send this to rework, a node called rework, but the rework node is maybe in another network file or elsewhere in the network definition. So we'll click on fail, and then just out here in space somewhere we'll double click, and that'll be the end of the activity. Okay, so in this case we want to specify an end node called rework. Okay, leave everything else the same. We'll make this a 0 duration, no conditions. We always go this way. Click OK, and you'll see the name of the node called rework. If I have a Goon node elsewhere in my network, I could label that rework, and that represents all of the entities that have failed will be routed to this rework node as part of the process. Okay. Okay, the second part of this video is concerned with conditional activities, and part of one of your homework assignments requires that you be able to specify conditions so you can collect statistics differently. So let's add a Goon node here, and part of the time we'll go to let's see, say a collect node where we collect statistics. Give this type 1 and collect time in the system statistics. The arrival time is stored in attribute 1. Okay. And this is type 1 type 1 parts. Okay. And we'll do the same thing to go to type 2 parts. So this will be collect node 2, and values again tnow minus attrib 1, and we're going to well, we'll add a node label here for type 2. Okay, so when finished parts arrive at this node, we want to send type 1 entities up here, type 2 entities up here. And we've decided to use the eType attribute to identify the type of entity that we have. So we click on Activity, Start Node, End Node, and then we want to put on a condition here where the condition is that eType has to equal a value of 1. Okay, so we look at entity variables here and we find attrib, enum, eType. Okay, so eType we're going to use, and that adds that attribute to the condition, and we have to test that it's equal. So the equalization test is 2 equal signs and number 1 in this case. And for the second activity, we go to this conditional branch if the eType value is equal to type 2. Okay, so click OK. Now we've added 2 conditional activities based on the entity type, where we can collect statistics separately for those 2. And we'll only take one of the outgoing branches, which is specified by the max branches to take parameter. Okay. Usually when you have a selection like this, the max take, or the M number, is always 1. Okay. In this case, we go to one of these 2. Okay, that concludes the discussion of the use of activities for both probabilistic branching and conditional branching. The next video lecture will talk about service activities, which I'll always follow Q nodes.